Hello from your California Capital chapter of PRSA. We are so excited to have the Influence Awards back in full force for 2023. We wanted to create a short video on how to submit your entries, your best strategic public relations work for an award in case you're new to the program or haven't submitted for an award before. So step one, you're going to go to our website, which is prsaccc.org/influence awards. Here you're going to land on our page and click submit entries. This will take you to our awards portal. There's some great information here. I encourage you to look through it. For the sake of time in this video, I'm going to kind of hit the top points. So diving into our award categories, there are 3 different award categories. We have our signature awards, our programs and campaigns, and our tactics. So within our signature awards, we have 4 categories, and these are our highest honor awards. First thing to note, they are free to submit for. And that's because we didn't want to hold anyone back from celebrating work and individuals and organizations within these 4 categories. So they are free. The CAPI, there's lots of great information here. I'm going to kind of give a 1-sentence description. So the CAPI, think of this as the award that looks to recognize an event, a program, a public relations initiative that specifically enhanced and promoted the Sacramento region. So think of this as like homegrown award. We want something based here in Sacramento or that influenced here in Sacramento. Influencer of the year, someone who is killing it with over 10 years of experience. And rising influencer of the year, someone who is exhibiting great PR leadership and achievement with under 10 years of experience in the field. And let's note here, that doesn't have to be a young professional. This can be someone who pivoted and now has a new career in PR and has that under 10 years in PR experience. Influential agency or organization of the year, a team that is doing great work that really moved the needle for our industry within the past 12 months. So that's bucket 1. Bucket 2 is programs and campaigns. These are fully formed strategic campaigns and programs. So go back to your school days of RPI. We want to see your research, planning, implementation, and evaluation. So our programs and campaigns are scored on a 100-point scale, where you get the merit level award if your combined score is 80 points or higher, and submissions will be awarded the influence level if the combined score after all of our judges review your work is 90 points or higher. So note here that these categories are not competitive. We're going to have multiple merit winners, multiple influence award winners within each of these program and campaign buckets. So before we get to the buckets that you'd submit your program and campaign for, let's talk about how to word your submission, how to make sure your submission is going to shine. So the first section is purpose. Here we want a clear statement of the problem you're trying to solve and a clear goal statement. So hopefully this aligns with your organization or your client's overall mission. In the research section, we want to know what information, what research guided you to land on this campaign. And some people skip over this category. And it's important here to think thoughtfully. I know lots of us are on budgets or have small teams, and maybe we think we don't have the capability of doing a fully, formed research initiative around our campaign. But remember that this can include secondary research. It can include examples like if you're running an internal communications campaign and you went around and talked to various important internal stakeholders. That information you received from them to inform your internal campaign is research. You want to list that here. Another example that sometimes people don't think about is just looking back at your past campaigns and seeing what worked with your audience, or what audiences did you reach? Did you uncover a new segment that is really engaged and hungry for your information? Like, all of that knowledge is research, and you need to think thoughtfully and include it here. You will get scored low in this section. There's points awarded just for your research section. So if you don't put anything, you're going to not be able to receive points there. And I think we can all agree, none of us launch a campaign without having it be informed in some way or another. The next section is planning, and it is by far and away the most important section of your submission. Here, we want to see a description and justification of your target audiences that you're going to reach in your campaign. We want to see measurable objectives. I cannot emphasize that enough. Go back to your SMART goals, that acronym, where it's specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound, and list those objectives specifically. So, for instance, if your objectives include some social media metrics, don't just say, we want this to perform well on social. Say we want to exceed our average engagement rate, which is currently at 6%. Engagement rate success would be anything exceeds that. Incredible success would be, 12%. Make sure it's measurable. That would be a crazy engagement rate, by the way. So that's just a pie in the sky example, but make sure those are listed here, your measurable objectives, and then talk about your strategies and activities / tactics that are going to support your overall goal. So if your overall goal is, we have a perception problem among our doctors at our hospital that we overwork our nurses. So my target audience is going to be internal. I want to make sure our doctors know everything we're doing to make sure our nurses aren't burnt out. And the strategies and tactics and activities within that might be, some like town hall styles, meeting notes for morning rounds, emphasis in our newsletter, maybe a special video campaign that pushes out to every doctor's phone, all those little activities that you're doing to support your goal, those would be called your tactics. And you want to, again, list them here in that planning section. You also want to talk about your budget in this planning section. Indicate who was involved in creating the plan. So if this was you and your team, if this was your agency team working with internal, communications folks, list that here. And that is a lot to list in 1,000 characters with spaces limit. So make note of that. I like to practice writing this out in a Word document, so I can make sure I've got my tight 1,000 characters, but make sure, again, it includes the description, justification of your target audience, those measurable objectives, and then the strategies, activities, and tactics, all listed there in planning. Do not skip over this. This is what makes the Influence Awards stand out from the Merit Award winners. In the implementation section, we want to see how it was implemented. Did everything go as planned? I would argue that most of the time it doesn't. Did you pivot to maybe maybe you found there's a new influencer. There's one doctor in my earlier scenario who everyone really trusts. He's been there a long time. He's super social. He knows everyone in his department. Maybe you utilize him as a spokesperson for your campaign, or, you feed him information and use him as an influencer. Anything that you weren't planning in that planning section that came out while you were implementing, we want to see it here. And if things didn't go as planned, don't be afraid to list that here. Don't think, oh, that means, your campaign failed. We love to see how you pivot, and our judges will award that. So please list that here in the implementation section. And if everything went according to plan, say that. In the evaluation section, this is where it's so important that you have those previously stated measurable strategic objectives, because we have to weigh your success against those objectives. Even if you share that, your campaign reached millions and millions of people and it generated thousands of donations, or, whatever great thing came out of it. If that's not listed as one of your specific objectives with a goal, with a measurable goal tag to it, we can't gauge how successful it was. If you just put that your objective was to raise money, how do you know you blew it out of the water? How do you know it was crazy successful? If you said your goal was to raise $1 million, and then you raised 1.2 million, we can call it a successful campaign, even though I'm sure if you fell short, it would be successful. But in matters of putting your work up for an award, we have to have something that we can truly judge as successful. So you want to show in your evaluation section that you've met your campaign, your program met the stated objectives. And then in the evaluation, we'd also love to hear if you have anecdotal feedback, like in addition to meeting all of our objectives, our CEO loved it and renewed the budget for this campaign next year. I would love to hear those words personally. So describe any formal evaluation tools. Maybe, in your objective, you said back to that hospital example, maybe you said, and how we're going to gauge this is we launched a survey asking our doctors, do you feel that your nurses and the staff around you is burnt out? And that's your baseline. And then your evaluation, you launch a survey after your communications campaign is, fully hit, and you can show that you move the needle there. Make sure you mention the tool that you used. So if it was an email survey, and give us the statistics behind it. The email survey had this open rate and this much engagement rate, which was this percentage of our total target audience. So use things like that in your evaluation to show that it was successful. So that's how you will submit your campaigns, your programs for an award. The specific buckets of categories for programs and campaigns are as follows. We've got a great diversity, equity, and inclusion category. This one we started 2 years ago now, and we know that our Sacramento communicators are doing great work in the DE&I space. So please consider putting your campaigns up for that one. Public affairs, crisis communication and issues management, special events, internal communications campaigns, social media campaigns, and external or community relations campaigns. And the final category for our awards, so again, we have those signature awards. We just covered programs and campaigns, and now the third one is tactics. These are those activities that we were talking about before that kind of support the overall campaign. Or maybe you just use these tactics unrelated to a campaign to support your agency's, your organization's goal. So those activities go up for a tactics award and have a slightly different submission base because they're not a full campaign. So the submission form will include these 4 buckets: purpose, implementation, budget, and evaluation. So, you can see how it's a slightly shorter submission for a tactic. They're still graded on that 100-point scale with the 2 categories, merit and influence. So then the tactic categories, the different buckets that you would apply for in the tactics category are media relations, feature or editorial writing, collateral materials or publications. And this says printed materials, but I think there's an argument to be made that a lot of us have moved our newsletters, magazines, collateral online. So don't be afraid to submit in this bucket for a digital newsletter, say. Annual reports, audio visual, maybe you launched a new podcast, maybe you have a new video that really killed it, and then electronic or digital. So any interactive communications piece that could be an awesome landing page, maybe a new website, a new portal, social that did really well, e-newsletter, maybe you revamped your company's intranet. Anything that's kind of web-based, interactive, can fall into the electronic digital category. So once you've read through the different areas that you can submit an award for and you're ready to sign up, you'll scroll down, add here the different areas that you want to submit for, and hit register and check out.